Round number 2 of the Australian Cup Carnival at the Meadows rolls on this Saturday night. It's a bumper program. The Carnival Superstars, they kick off with 2 heats. We've also got the second round, the semi-finals at the Australian Cup. A Rookie Rebel Prelude, a Vic Breeders' Maiden Series continues on, and a heat more for Saturday night racing in Melbourne. Hello, welcome to the number 1 greyhound racing podcast in Victorian greyhound racing, maybe just in Melbourne, although grey areas might have something to say about that, Jason Adams. But as I welcome Mickey Ty, welcome to Numero Uno, mate. What's going on, brother?
Jimmy boy, yeah, loving the this Australia Cup Carnival, mate. I thought it was a tough betting program the other night. I think this week's maybe just a little bit easier, famous last words, but we'll see if we can find a few for the punters. Before
we get racing, I just wanted to chat about famous people that we've ran into in public. Everyone's ran into somebody somewhere out there in the world. And I was just thinking before, I was nearly going to message you the other day, Mick, and I was going to say, Mick, I'm going to Sandown Monday night. I know you're busy on a Monday morning, but do you want to meet Monday afternoon at the 1,000 Steps? And I thought, to be honest, my health, my fitness isn't at the level of your calves. So I thought, no, I won't do that just yet. But it got me thinking about the last time I reckon I went to the 1,000 Steps, and I was wandering up them. And this is years and years ago. Jeff Kennett coming up the other way.
All right. Oh, Jeffrey Kennett.
Not who you expect to see at the 1,000 Steps either.
No, definitely not.
Well, this was about halfway up and I was coming down, to be fair, so I'm not sure if he got the whole way up. He might have done 500 and stopped, but yeah.
I'm trying to think. Probably, I'd say Tiger Woods. In 2000,
you ran into Tiger Woods?
Yeah, in 2008, I was at a gym in Orlando, Florida, Gold's Gym, so public commercial gym. And I was there with a mate, and we just looked at each other and go, is that Tiger Woods over there? He kind of had his hat down and stuff. And then we were thinking at the time, why on earth would Tiger Woods be at a public gym? And, you know, with how rich he is and famous he is, you think he'd have a home gym. And then it was only a year or two later, it came out that Tiger was a bit of a naughty boy. And then, well, I was like, that's why he went to the gym. The old, I'm going to the gym. Yeah, so that's why I think he might have been a member there. So it was interesting seeing him there, and then saw everything unfold in the years later.
I thought Jeff Kennett was good, and then you've just come in and just gone bang with the great Tiger Woods of all people. But you do like a trip to the US as well, don't you, mate? You go nearly every bloody year.
Yeah, I'm going to the World Cup in June, so that's the big trip for this year. Geez, it's been real tough getting tickets. I think they had 150 million ticket requests in the lottery, so I've got tickets to the Australia games, but everything else has been a bit of a struggle for other games. But we'll see how we go in the coming months.
Plenty of people out there, mate, despise flying. They just can't sit in the one seat for such a long period of time. Do you have any tricks? Does Mickey Ty, the great greyhound racing man from Victoria, have some tricks? I'm actually flying overseas next week, so is there anything that you can recommend I do to make the trip feel a little bit faster?
Yeah, it's not premium economy. I don't know I'm not sure what United and Qantas call it, but it's just one step up. I think Virgin and United used to call it Economy X. It's in this middle-ish section, and if you're in economy, they stop people going up there, but because it's like $70 or $80 extra, there's often a ton of vacant seats in that section. So often I've had a row to myself, paying that 70, 80 and just praying no one would come next to you. And more often than not, I've ended up with a row. So I've ended up making this little man cave and eyeing anyone off who even looks like looking in my direction. So having a row to yourself makes it a lot easier.
Okay, so Mick buys business class tickets, punters. That's how he goes about it. Unfortunately,
business class. No business class.
I've got to take the whole family, so I'm flying Jetstar, and I'll be right at the back where the engines are roaring, no doubt. Anyway, that's the life of Mickey Ty, rolling with Tiger Woods whilst he's flying business class. I'm surprised you didn't see him on your private jet when you were going to the US, but let's roll on. Recapping last Saturday night. What a way to start the Oz Cup Carnival. We'll start with the Temlee. This was bloody awesome. Kenya Mayhem in front, dashing sleigh. It was shades of the Melbourne Cup from last year. I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it. And then Mepunga Reward just spoilt the party with a barnstorming finish. And we're going to chat to Langton on the show a little bit later on. She'll discuss her 11 runners on Saturday night. But this one has to be up there with one of the real superstars of greyhound racing. Not just because of what he's doing, but what he's been through to get to where he is right now, which we'll discuss a bit later.
Yeah, oh, it was awesome. Like, I know it's only February, but I think Jeff and Angela have sewn up the training effort of the year there with this dog Mepunga Reward. Like, what an incredible win. I was standing parallel with the boxes, and I just noticed that Kenya Mayhem, he kind of only just came out with them off the mat, and I think that was ended up being the difference between winning and losing. He didn't get that chance to just explode to the lead because he was just on that level pegging with the other dogs, and that was probably the difference. And you saw Mepunga Rewards run home. It was just awesome.
Was, and there was a fleeting moment. Mepunga Reward was in a precarious place. He was about 3/4 of a length on the rail behind Sharapova Star, and I thought Sharapova Star would normally just sort of cut and try and run, but I think the fact she hadn't found the lead, she probably didn't race true to her normal railing pattern, and it just left enough space for Mepunga Reward to slip through. And once he got through, you knew he was going to finish off. He was awesome. It's an extraordinary story. Can't wait to chat to Angela Langton about that shortly. Moving on to the Zoom top and maybe the announcement of a bit of a rising star in the staying ranks. He was third in that Group 1 in Queensland, Magpie Hector, then comes to Melbourne and just does what Jack Smith does best. He comes to Melbourne and he pinches Group 1s. He did it with Palawa King. Now he's done it with this boy, Magpie Hector. I've watched the race a few times. When I called it live, I thought, gee, like this is really, really impressive. Like he has just monstered a top-line field. And then I went back. I don't want to take away from the win, but he went from second last to second in the most easiest of ways. Like there was a little bit of a compression, a bit of a bottleneck, and he whipped around. Is he always going to get that run? That's the query, but you don't doubt his staying ability. I mean, the way that he hit the line, the way that he went past Fade to Black, he put away some absolute stars in doing so. He's a genuine top-line stayer. I don't want to be negative, but I feel like it was maybe 80% as good as what I thought it was on the night, if that makes sense.
No, I actually agree with you. That start before at the queue, early in that race, there was I think it was Zipping Zayden and a few others kind of didn't take the turn, and he got that gap and landed in that slightly more forward position earlier in the race than anticipated. And that probably happened again here. I knew something was maybe off a little bit with Without a Trace when, Magpie Hector burned her off very, at the winning post the first time around almost. That's unusual. And then Without a Trace kind of came again, and we know that she's got that wrist ligament injury and she's out of the series. But yeah, no, I agree with you, James. Do some of these stayers, take it in turns a little bit? Yes, I would say. So I thought you summed that up really well.
You might be right what you said too, that he might be landing a pair further forward just by circumstances the last couple. So yeah, maybe, look, if you see him at a crazy short price, which you could potentially get into this week, you might still want to take him on. And if he gets the right run, yeah, he'd probably win the race. But I think if he does end that one pair further back at the first corner, then maybe he's a little bit more beatable than what he was in the Zoom top. Big race preview. So from the review to the preview, it's time to take a look at Saturday night's racing, and we'll start off with race 4. It's Heat 1 of the Vanderbilt Superstayers, and you've got Fade to Black, who draws box number 8. One hand on the winner's check here. Dog's absolutely humming. Ran sections up to the post the first time that would win a 300-metre race. So to be doing that and running out a pretty strong 700 metres, and as we said, if Magpie Hector didn't lob that one or two pairs further closer, he may well have been a Group 1 winner at his last 2 starts, Fade to Black. So he should be winning this.
Yep, couldn't agree more. I noted Kayla Cottrell after Dear Carla Lou won, Jason Adams asked her about Fade to Black for later in that evening, and she said he's brilliantly drawn in box 8, and I think that's the case here. He's got a clear King Ron early. Vodka and Ice, I anticipate to begin better than what he did in the exhibition trial. I think he'll only help the map as well. He'll be cutting over to the rail. Fades of Black's got to get a ton of room to work with. It's just a matter of what Texas President does. If he does everything right, it could be a little tricky to get past. But I think there's that chance Fades of Black can lead all the way or sit off them and run over the top late. So you've got 2 cracks at him winning here, so to speak. I think he's a great bet here, even at the short odds.
Yeah, I do too. I think Texas President could probably lead him up and maybe show that pace to go with him for a long way. But we saw Fade to Black almost be better when he came from behind in a Bold Trees heat. So just sort of maybe not burn the candle as much and then hit the line. So I think Texas President being that tempo setter might actually be a good thing for Fade to Black. Race 5, Heat 2, I'm best bet of the knighting number 1 Aiden's Warrior. I thought his run last start was enormous. I know he's got Baffert, who was the Geelong track record breaker, who can be a bit hard to follow out there in box 8. You've also got Magpie Hector in 7. They're both big chances. Baffert was 200 to 1 when Tab opened odds for this series, which was crazy overs. I didn't get on. By the time I drove down to the local totalisator board, it was into $50. Aiden's Warrior for me here. You sound like you might have got the 200s on Baffert. I'm not saying he's going to win the series, but 200 to 1 and $40 a place was overs.
Oh, I did do a multi last night at Anthony Azzopardi's Rocket first starter in the first at Ballarat. Canyon, I can't remember the name. I multi that into Baffert at 41, so I think I've got about 44s for Baffert's. I don't think, can he win? Don't know, but I'm happy to find out at 44s. I'm with you on Aiden's Warrior. This is one in my mind. I'm thinking, I don't think James will tip Aiden's Warrior. Oh, he might. And then he has, because I have as well. So I'm with you. I thought it was an excellent run. And I want to see Aiden's Warrior glued to the rail, out in front, making no mistakes. And it took a lot of the race for him to get that optimal pattern. He was sort of getting driven mad wherever he went. I think he looked like he was a run short too, maybe, so to speak. And if you watch the replay, he really didn't lose by that much. And I think off box one, he should clear Belair Ethel. Late Night News will walk out. Irish Millie walks out. He's got every chance to be humming. I want to see him probably 6 in front at the winning post the first time around, maybe 7 or 8 in front down the back to hold off Magpie Hector. And I think that can happen here. So just with that front running pattern on with Aiden's Warrior.
I reckon he tracked Magpie Hector last week. I would probably beg the difference, say he doesn't have to be that far ahead, unless he burns the candle a little bit. But Belair Ethel was drawn underneath of him, and he was able to get past her at the start, so now he's drawn underneath of her. I think he's drawn even better. The more I look at it, the more it's Aiden's Warriors race to lose. Race number 6, Rookie Rebel Prelude. Valenzuela's reserve in an Oz Cup heat or semi a bit later on, but if he doesn't get a run there, the plan is obviously the Rookie Rebel because he's in the Prelude. So we'll find out from Anne shortly. But box number 3, he was eye-catching last week. I'm not sure how this race is going to be ran. I initially marked the 3 as the dog to beat, Valenzuela. The more I've looked at it, the more I've thought, well, hang on, Jim, do some homework, do some speed maps. 5, Bebop Jazz, up to this distance range, probably enough speed to lead, to cross the inside brigade. Does that bring Paul Petrov into the race from box number 6? The 600-metre form's outstanding, probably a little bit of an underrated dog. And the more I look at it, the more I'm leaning to the 6 and the 5 just to spear forward. Valenzuela to come home late. So I'm 6-3-5. I'm sticking with Paul Petrov.
Okay, well, yeah, this is good. We're differing on this one. We've had 2 the same so far. This is my best bet of the night, and didn't even warrant a mention from you, James. That's number 7, Electrify. I still think this dog's got a freak factor about him. In fact, I'm going to go as far to say I think he can actually win the Rookie Rebel next Saturday. I think he can show what he's made of here. I think Bebop and Jazz and Paul Petrov will help in the map here. They'll be cutting across the rail, even if Electrify just stays out wide on that first turn and then burns them off round about where the winning post is. I thought his run was sensational in the pouring rain the other night. Yes, was it an ordinary race? Yes, of course it was, but it was pissing down rain. The track was heavy. He got a big clip at the first turn and still picked himself up and chased hard, and then had to navigate that absolute pest knurling down near the 600 boxes, and he did so with aplomb and just exploded away and won. He's my best bet of the night here, Electrify.
All right, no mucking around. He's Magic's going to come across. That was the concern I had for the 7. But 6, 3, 5, 7 were my numbers. You're with the 7, Electrify. I can see why. Semi-final 1 at the Australian Cup at this stage, 8:37 Saturday night. Race number 7. I'm leaning to Poor Oswald to overturn Canyon Mayhem. I thought Poor Oswald was pretty good last week. He's got the speed, I think, to cross the red early. Canyon Mayhem's going to be short, so I just thought maybe, just maybe, Poor Oswald might be able to get the fly to the first corner. I don't know what I'm doing. Canyon Mayhem's probably my favourite dog, so I'm probably barking up the wrong tree here, and he's coming back off just extraordinary form lines, Canyon Mayhem. He'll probably just win, but maybe just searching for a little bit of value with Poor Oswald on the each way.
I know exactly what you mean with Canyon Mayhem. A week's a long time in greyhound racing. We both couldn't have tipped him any harder in the Temlee, and now we're both off him for the semi-final. I'm with number 6, Consigliere. I love what he did. Back down with the Thompson Kennel. I reckon this race has been mapped out a long time ago. Don't mind the map here. My boy Bingo will be looking for the rail. Neo Devere, risky early, probably a railer. Ascending Static, 600-metre form. Will she be as explosive early? Probably not. And I don't mind Consigliere drawn out wide when there's maybe just that little bit of less pressure than anticipated. I think he can cut across and lead. And if he finds that lead, I don't think they'll be catching him. Do I think Canyon Mayhem can also win potentially? Absolutely. Just a little bit of the price point of view here, and that possibility of Poor Oswald and Canyon Mayhem maybe cutting at each other going into that first turn. Is that a recipe for Consigliere to sail across and win and showed what he was made of like he did last week?
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from. As you said, a week in greyhound racing is a long time. Last week I was saying, oh, where's Tim Zoo at? This week I'm saying he's nearly the best bet of the night, drawn box number 2. The reason I'm saying that, I want to roll some vision of the Temlee last week. He jumped as good as I've seen Tim Zoo jump. He was right up on the back at the speed. And Mepunga Reward just gave him that little hip and shoulder from behind, took his momentum, took his legs, and then he had a bit of a checkered path from there. But the way that he hit the line for mine was matching those up front. He would have been a lot closer. I think if he doesn't get the bump early, he maybe wins the Temlee, and we say, my goodness, what a training effort from Team Thompson. Drawn perfectly. Cleo Star, hug the rail, hold them out. Tim Zoo just tuck in behind. The concern, obviously, is Dashing Slay, who's just a machine. She was awesome last week, but we're going to get a price on Timmy Zoo. He is a beast in the Australian Cup Series. What would he win it 2 years ago, and then he was just beaten last year? I mean, this is his series. He's got his name written all over it. I think he's going to win. 2, 5, 7, 1 of my numbers, but I'm expecting the red to lead. Timmy Zoo to sit leaders back, and in harness racing terms, sprint lane to victory.
I see it similar-ish. I thought Cleo Star, Slick Badger, and Dashing Slay, and maybe even Eventuate could potentially undo each other, and that brings your Tim Zoo and Zelda Cavilla types into the race. And I was just at the price point of view, just leaning towards Zelda Cavilla, the daily factor. Just thought Tim Zoo maybe opened up just a little bit too short. But you're right, and I agree with everything you're saying. I just think Zelda Cavilla, if they both could get that, whichever greyhound gets that best run there or the runner honours, and I'm happy to find out with Zelda Cavilla. He was storming into the catching pen last week, absolutely roaring home he was. You'd be remiss not to mention Mepunga Reward, but I just felt he mapped a bit sticky here from box 7. Even though I don't mind him out wide, I just sort of don't really see where he can land. And then you add in Giacomo coming into the race with the scratching of Deadly Avenger. Does he drive Mepunga Reward mad enough early to cost him the race? That's how I thought. So I just kept the strong dogs have got a real stranglehold here, I think. And that's Zelda Cavilla and Tim Zoo. 4, 2, 1, and 7, my numbers.
The hardest challenge, I think, for Mepunga Reward is from the outside. He's going to probably end up behind Dashing Slay and behind Tim Zoo, and then to come from behind those dogs would, again, be another step up. But it'll be interesting to see if he does bomb out of the Oz Cup Carnival, which we hope he doesn't, because you want a dog like that in the final. But if he does, I'd say him and Tim Zoo probably go toward the Rookie Rebel. We'll find out with Anne shortly. On to race 9, semi number 3. I don't really want to tip in this one, Mick. It is an absolute shit fight, this race. I don't know what to do. You've got Sharapova Star in 7. You've got Intrepidus in 8. They're going to be carving left. Avengement, Dear Carlaloo are going to show a bit of speed and want up the track. Dramatical, maybe, if somehow he can navigate through the field. Maybe a West on Sydney. Maybe it's a bundle bet where you back the 3, 4 and 5 and just hope for a bit of luck in running. But speed maps tell me you just cannot work this race out.
It's really tough. I'm a real sicko, and I was watching the box draw live here, and I couldn't believe it when Avengement went into box 1 again. And I think this dog's a real gun, but I just query here where he maps, and if he wants to hook out, could be trouble. Dear Carlaloo's obviously going to be ahead of him early. I kept coming back to number 3, West on Sydney here. I thought he was awesome at his first race start here last week. Didn't have much luck and savaged the line. Now, if Avengement and Carlaloo are ahead of him, and if they make any mistakes spearing off the track, you got Slick Splits in there as well. If they all undo each other, West on Sydney's just going to be sitting on the rail. If he can just rail through, make no mistakes, the back half of his race is going to be awesome. And, just now with that third look at the track, the exhibition trial, the heat run, and now this semi-final, I just keep coming back to him off the map. Real tough race, dramatical. No, I thought he was real gutsy last week. Things went pear-shaped and he still won. On with you, real tough race. 3, 5, 4, and 1.
The good thing is, West on Sydney, you're going to get a price with him as well. And last week, mate, he went around at a ridiculous price for what he trialled the week before. He's currently $5.50. I reckon it'll actually ease out a little bit. You'll end up with $8, $9 at the jump. Would not surprise me at all. Race 10, I'm with the Mavrika. I reckon he was the run of the week last week. He just burnt them off. He went so hard through the marks. He went 29.57, and I love this box number 5. I mean, it's a great box 5. The 6 Vista Weird won't bother him. Aston Rayner, Paul Gordy may. But the 4 Whispered will step, carve hard left, create space for Mavrico. When he gets space the first 20, he's an absolute machine. So I think he's a big chance here to go very close to winning. Obviously, Irish Bill is the big danger. Comes up with box number 1. He's proven at the top level, and he was desperately unlucky last week. So again, you could probably bundle the two, and you might make a small profit. But I'm going to lean to the path of Maverico for Johnny Barbara, who's a good mate of mine. I'd love to see him get one into the Oz Cup. It'd be a great thrill for the team down there at Exford.
Yeah, great man with the dog, Johnny. I was very bullish on Maverico, and I think you were as well. I think even everyone on Sky Racing was as well. It was a clean sweep with Maverico winning. I just whispered makes me nervous. She can't be relied on to do anything. There's a chance she could just drive Maverico mad. So I kept coming back to Vista Weird, who had an ordinary draw off box 1. I like this dog drawn out wide. Just snuck his way into the semi-finals and now gets a wide draw. And if Maverico and Whispered go hard, go hammer and tong early and look for the rail, that might leave Vista Weird in that spot to sail around, keep clicking through the gears. I don't care if this dog covers an extra 7 or 8 metres. If he's at full momentum, look out. He roared home last week off the red once he got out in space. And I was looking for some value here with number 6, Vista Weird. 6, 1, 3 and 5 were my numbers.
I'm on that from you, mate, as we wrap up this section of the podcast. Let's get our best bets out to the universe. I'll kick it off. My best bets for Saturday night, I'm going with race 5, number 1, Aiden's Warrior. I just think his run was good last week. He's drawn beautifully off the red, maybe to step, lead and win. And race 8, I'm going with number 2, Tim Zoo. I thought he was good in the Temlee without any luck whatsoever, and this is his moment. He loves the Oz Cup Carnival. He will run well, race 8, number 2. Probably both each-way plays, to be fair. Over to you, Mick.
Yeah, best bet, race 6, number 7, Electrify in the Rookie Rebel Prelude. I've got a huge opinion of this dog. This dog could be a gun stayer, gun middle distance dog. Real hard chaser. I think he can win the Rookie Rebel the week after. So if you're looking at some futures markets, I'd be looking to get on before this Prelude on Saturday night. He's my best bet. And second best bet would be race 4, number 8, Fade to Black in a very winnable heat, well drawn out wide. He's versatile enough to either lead or come from behind and win. That's Fade to Black.
I'm adding Fade to Black to my best bet as a third as well. I do think that he is just drawn to dominate from the outside. Mickey, love your work, mate, on a Thursday. We'll be recording maybe Sunday night, Monday morning for the Oz Cup and Superstayers next week. So that'll be out to the world probably Monday, maybe Tuesday. Then I'm going overseas. I'll slip away and I'll be sitting in some bar drinking tequila when the Australian Cup's run next week, mate. So good luck and hold down the fort here in Melbourne. But we'll chat later over the weekend once this big night of racing gets over and done with.
Got any Jimmy?
Inside info.
Well, it is now time for Inside Info, and ahead of a massive night of racing, a huge night of racing at the Meadows on Saturday night, we're joined by Ange Langton, the brains of the Jeff Britton, Ange Langton, Nick Britton combination down there near Geelong. And so fabulous to have you on the Green Light On podcast for the first time on the back of a extraordinary race in the Temlee with your very special boy, Mepunga Reward winning.
Yeah, it's great to be here, James. Thanks for the invite. Had to get Nicholas to show me how to do all this sort of thing because I'm not used to getting on these Zoom things, but glad it's working and I'm glad you can hear me.
Well, I'm surprised, to be honest, Ange, because I've always thought of you as a lady that could do just about anything. Can you give us a little bit of an insight to not the career path we know with you? We all know that you're a wonderful greyhound person, wonderful greyhound trainer, breeder, the whole package, but you also have a pretty impressive second career path.
Yes, James, I've got a science degree. I'm a medical scientist, so I diagnose cancer. So before I had Nicholas, I probably worked 5 days a week and the dogs were a hobby for me. Mum and I had dogs together probably since I was 17, and once I finished uni and moved away to work full-time in the laboratory, I started sending dogs down to Jeff and Robert and Darren and Jason, and I guess that's where we all started. And yeah, I worked in my career. I travelled overseas and I've done a lot of wonderful things with my science degree. I work in theatre still twice a week, and now the dog's sort of a bit more than a hobby. So I spend most of my time at home with the dogs or at the track, but I love my job and, I sort of do both, which I'm very lucky to do both. I love both my jobs, I do.
It's extraordinary, and I must admit, with a career path like that and a job like that, I thought you'd be all over getting on this this podcast. But Nick had to help you out, didn't you?
I think I'm a bit old. I don't think computers came in until I was in year 12. So, and I never really have taken much notice. I tend to just do what I know, and I'm probably getting to the stage now where I think, you know what, I've got Nicholas here, so I let him do all those sort of things, and probably never really learnt too much, which I probably should, but. I like to concentrate on the dogs now more than anything, so I don't worry too much about I don't get on Facebook or anything. I'm not sort of big into social media, which probably I should be, but I think I'll leave that to the younger people.
No, I think it's a good thing. I feel like the computers and technology is passing me, and I'm only early 30s, so it's crazy. But talk to me about this boy, Mepunga Reward. I mean, it's been an extraordinary journey. I know you messaged me a couple of times once he sustained a decent injury, and there was a big chance he may never race again. And from that point on, to go from probably being maybe 50-50 that he'll ever make it back to the track to then coming back and racing the way that he has with the chase power that he's got. It's one of the great stories in greyhound racing, this boy.
Yeah, it certainly is, James. I guess the night that he did get turned sideways and fell and broke his hock, we were both really devastated, because I think he looked like he was going to be probably the fastest dog we've ever had in the kennel. And not only is he an amazing animal, but he's got an amazing temperament, and he's almost part of the family. You know, I always say to Jeff, he's just so intelligent, this dog. He sits on his bed. He never barks. He's just the most beautiful temperament. And he actually follows you with his eyes. Wherever you go in the kennel, he's always following to see what you're doing, but he can almost talk to you. And I think we were just devastated the night it happened, but we were so fortunate. We had one of the GRV vets, her name's Madonna, and, you know, she put him on a drip straight away, and the care she took with him was unbelievable. And a big thank you goes out to her and the staff of Sandown and Des Fagan for the operation, because without all that combination of people and the care they all showed, the dog never would have got back to the track. And I think it's probably an amazing story that he did make it back to the track. His hock was a mess, but Jeff took a long time and a lot of care with him, and the patience paid off, because the first time he trialled back at Geelong, obviously he went close to track record time, and we were only hoping that he'd get round soundly and no injuries. And, there were probably a couple of niggly little things after that, but he just went from strength to strength. And, his ability to want to win and his tenacity of chasing is just amazing, this dog. He's just unbelievable. He's just such a beautiful animal.
So reading between the lines, you're suggesting that prior to an injury, he maybe is the quickest dog that you guys have ever touched.
He definitely is. Like, his run home and his will to win, I think, is just amazing. I think if all dogs were like him, you'd have a lot of good dogs in your kennel. But, he can take a knock and another knock, and he just keeps coming. He just doesn't know how to give up. He just wants to win all the time. And I think it showed Temlee night, because he probably gave Tim Zoo a good hip and shoulder through the first corner, and then I think he was bumping with Sharapova Star over the back, and a lot of dogs probably after a few knocks like that would just give up, but he just kept driving and just had that will to win.
So the fact he's come back from a career-ending injury effectively, and ended up winning a Group 1 Temlee, that would probably only strengthen your opinion that this boy is the best dog you guys have ever had.
For sure. Like, to win that race, it really was the icing on the cake, because he really deserved to win a Group 1, the dog. He went through the Top Gun last year and had a chip in his wrist, and he had to have surgery again late last year to remove the chip. And, he just came back again. He's come back again. He's just defied all odds, and he's just come back as good as ever again. And, the strength that he's got's amazing. That, his run home ability is just second to none.
And now he's a dad as well. Talk to me about the potential stud career of Mepunga Reward. I actually had a mate of mine message the other day, and he goes, "What do you think about Mepunga Reward if he stands at stud?" And I said, well, to be honest, the story behind him, I mean, to come back and win a Group 1 after the injuries that he's had, you'd hate to see what he would have done to that field if he was, injury-free throughout his career.
Yeah, for sure. I think, he probably would have gone on and done a lot more, but he's. I think the way he can get himself through a field and navigate through a field like he does, it's just you just don't see dogs do it like he does. He just seems, it's like he's got a jockey on his back. Jeff always says he just seems to know which road to take and to get through. And I guess having that strength always helps as well. But he's had 6 girls already, sort of in between racing, and Jeff's tried to hold off a little bit to get through this Australia Cup series and see where we're at after that. But the breeding behind him is incredible. His mother's won the Metropolitan Breedage of the Year the last 2 years, and I won't be surprised if she wins it again this year, because the pups she's thrown, they've just they've been outstanding. And every dog in the litter seems to be able to run, and every dog in the litter seems to be city class. And his sister, Mepunga Reward's sister, Mepunga Tully, won the Australian Cup. And, they've just been, it's not just, he's not a one-off. The whole litter can run, and the previous litter could run, Mepunga Smoky, Mepunga Surprise. They've just been sensational. And we've actually got a repeat mating of him now that we've just started trialling, and, they're just running sensational already around Sandown as well. So I think there's going to be more coming out of Mepunga Isla. They just she's just been incredible, and to have that line and Barry's line, I think it's only going to be a bonus for breeders.
Yeah, I think tapping into the Barry Smith line, the Mepunga line, I think will be enormous for those out there. It's just a line that continues to produce, and you've seen it firsthand. Let's turn our attention to Saturday night. You've got 11 runners going around at the Meadows. I thought we'd do a bit of a quick preview. You've got a lot to do today. I know you've got to be at the trials this morning, so we'll quickly power through these. Starting with race 3, you've got 2 runners in the race, Weblek Memphis for Nikki Britton, who's gone to the next level, and Shadows of Blue, who I reckon's an old favourite of yours. How do you see that race playing out? And at either of them a chance, do you think?
Look, I think Shadows of Blue, he's getting on. He's been a wonderful dog, but he is getting on in age, and he probably really needs to be drawn closer to the fence. So, he's just hoping for luck with him. And Weblek Memphis, look, I think he's a lovely young dog. He's an up-and-coming dog, and his run home last week was enormous, breaking 12. So I think the 600 is going to suit him. It just depends where he lands in the race. But, look, possibly he's been thrown to the wolves a little bit with the grading. The dogs that he's up against have won a lot more races than him. He's only a young dog, but hopefully he can put himself in the race and run in the first 3.
Race 4, Heat 1 of the Vanderbilt Superstayers, Texas President, Mepunga Donna, both front runners. They come up against Fade to Black, who is in arguably career best form and maybe one of the best top 3 stayers in the country, top 2 stayers in the country right now. How do you see your 2 going there? You'd expect Texas President to lead them up from box number 2?
Yeah, I think so. I think he's definitely a leader. He's not overly strong. I'm hoping with a bit more running and a bit more age on him, he will get there. But look, Donna's a lovely little girl as well. She tries really hard and gives 100% every time. And again, she's very young also, but it's going to be hard definitely to beat Fade to Black. He's certainly gone up a level, and look, he's going super at the moment. So I'm just hoping they can put themselves in the race and maybe run a place, both of them.
Heat 2, race 5, 1 runner in that, Mepunga Lara. She's, I reckon she's a little bit underrated, this dog. She's got a big motor. Last start was in the Zoom top. She had no luck from box number 5, but we know what she's capable of, and I think she's one that she's got huge scope moving forward over the next 12 months as a stayer.
Yeah, definitely. She's another Mepunga Isla pup, and I definitely think she's underrated. She's very handy indeed, and I think, again, she's very young, and she's come up against very good dogs very early in her career, and she can only move forward and get better, I think. And if she can put herself in the race and have a clear run, I think definitely she could run in the first 3 as well.
6, number 3, Valenzuela. His run was huge last start in the heat of the Australian Cup. He probably should have qualified. He's currently sitting as number 9 as well in race number 9. So there's still a chance he might make it back into the semis of the Oz Cup. But if he goes around here, Rookie Rebel Prelude tells us that you're probably having a look at the Rookie Rebel with him. Firstly, what do you think of this week? And is that the plan, to stick at 600 now and have a go at the Rookie Rebel the week later?
Yes, for sure, James. He was an enormous run last week. I was wrapped because he probably was a little bit flat after Brisbane. He'd gone up for a couple of trips up there, and he came back a little bit. Probably needed a little bit of a spell, but he definitely showed that he's on the way back. His last run last week was terrific. He come from a long way back, and if it'd been a little bit further, it'd have been a lot closer to going, to the front. So hopefully he can find a good position in the 600 and do well.
Me too of the Oz Cup. Giacomo, I always call him Giacomo. I was calling him Giacomo, like Presta Giacomo, the footballer, but I've been told it's Giacomo. He's going to get a start at this stage from box 8. Deadly Avenger's been scratched, so number 9 will go into box 8 unless there's any more scratchings. How's he going, old Giacomo? He's got early speed, but I'm sure you're going to say that you would have preferred a closer inside draw if he can get one.
Yeah, for sure. Look, his last few runs at Sandown have been superb. He's been beginning so well and, leading, and he's really stepped up as well in the last few weeks. Hopefully he can begin well, and hopefully Mepunga Reward and him stay away from each other so that they can both get a clear run. It'd be nice to see him get around that corner in front. I think he was very stiff last week. He got beaten by a good dog, but I think had he been able to clear her, I think he could have won the race himself.
Going places. I always skip a runner on this podcast for some reason. Race 7, number 8, Mepunga Zircon. We've got to go back a race. He's an up-and-comer, and he's going to get over more ground. I think he's a greyhound with big scope moving forward too.
Yeah, he certainly is. He's out of Mepunga Ruby. He was a great stayer, and I guess we were hoping he might end up staying down the track. At this stage, he's not overly strong, but he is running the 500 out very strong. You know, on his hand slip, he shows that he'll get the 600 as well. He is very young, and I think he's just starting to learn. He's starting to begin a lot better and put himself in the race, and I think he will keep improving. He's a really nice pup.
9, number 1, Avengement. A greyhound that it can use a little bit of the track, has come up with the inside draw, but handled it beautifully in a heat. So I guess you're hoping for a replication of last week.
Yeah, look, he did a great job last week to go past the two dogs that are out in front in the home straight. And I think he probably does like to be off the track a little bit. Probably the one doesn't suit him, but hopefully he's got that little bit of room to move and he can begin well because he is racing really well and he is a fast pup.
Race 11, Webleck Joel, drawn the guts. Might not be too bad. Box 5 for Webleck Joel.
Yeah, he'll try. He's a lovely little dog and, you know, he gives 100% every time. He's probably no superstar, but he's a really nice dog to have in the kennel and he goes well.
The last race, Mepunga Express, drawn the outside.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, look, he's a really nice young pup too. I think he's another upcomer. He's a brother to Zircon out of Mepunga Ruby, and he can show good pace and he can run time. So I think he's another one that, you know, in another 6 months, these young ones might be up and representing us in a few group races, hopefully, because they are nice young pups.
Now, I kept your favourite to last, race 8, number 7, Mepunga Reward. He will have Giacomo to his outside, which could be seen as a negative, but maybe it's a positive. Giacomo's step, go hard for the rail, create some space, and then the big white Hulk just moves around the outside and does what he does best.
Yeah, well, in your mind, that's what you hope happens. You hope Giacomo begins really well, goes hard left, and Reward misses a little bit, and then he gets a clear run from out wide on his own. So I guess that's what you're hoping, and hopefully Giacomo can, you know, get out in front and lead the race. And if Reward beats him, that's well and good. And if he doesn't, well, hopefully one of them can put themselves in the final next week. It'd be superb.
Now, let's paint a scenario. Reward finds a bit of trouble, doesn't make the final of the Oz Cup. Plan B, Rookie Rebel next week. Would that be the plan?
Yeah, definitely the plan, yes. He'd probably look at the end of the day, he's probably a better 600-metre dog than a 500-metre dog. It's probably his pet distance, really, because of his, you know, slow beginning. But you'd definitely look for the 600 the following week, all going well, if he doesn't get through.
Okay, well, I think I counted 11 runners. Do you have a best from the kennel?
Oh, that's a hard one. They're so good. All the heats, they're hard races, and there's so many good dogs in it. They're probably just hoping for a bit of luck. I wouldn't say there's too many that have drawn that well this week, but hopefully they can get around. I think, you know, I really like Mepunga Express and I like Mepunga Zircon, but they're probably not drawn well. Zircon probably needed the fence. Look, hopefully Mepunga Reward can do it again, but whether he can keep doing it's another thing. But cross fingers he gets around safely because I'd love to see him win.
Well, we do have to let you go. I know you've got a busy day ahead. I'll let the Meadows know that you might be running 5 minutes late because of me. For them, this is their podcast. That's all right. What do you love about greyhounds as we let you go? And what's the key to success? Because you and Jeff have just had a wonderful last, I don't even know how long, but you just continue to produce superstar after superstar. What's the key and what do you love about this game?
Oh, I love this game. I love the animal. They're just the most beautiful animal to work with. They make you happy. They love you unconditionally. And, you know, they're so happy to see every day. And I don't know, I think it's just, it's an industry where it's good for you yourself. You're out in the fresh air. You're exercising all the time without feeling like you're forced to exercise. It keeps you healthy and fit as well. And they're just such a beautiful animal to work with. They're magic. I love them. So, and I think, you know, the success behind us probably, you know, we've had a lot of success with Barry. He's just such a wonderful breeder. And, you know, we've been very fortunate to train his dogs, all the Mepunga dogs. Jeff's had a long standing, you know, running with Barry, and he's trained for many years for Barry. And he's just such a wonderful person. You know, they never interfere with what we do. Jeff always makes the call. You know, he might ask Barry's opinion, but he's a bit like all our owners. They don't really interfere at all. We just, at the end of the day, make the decision where we head and what we do, which is really good because it's nice to be able to just get in and do the work and not be hassled. And, you know, we do our best. Everyone does their best. We've got great staff behind us. And, you know, Jeff spends a lot of time in the kennel. It's, you know, we're there out there at night. He does a lot of grooming, a lot of massage, and he does a lot of preparation with his track to make sure it's well prepared before we run anything, to try and keep everything injury free. And I think everyone's very passionate here. We all love our animals, and we do love to succeed. I mean, I've always been someone that loves to win. Always at school, I like to be the best. At sport, I like to be the best, and I guess that's part of it. I love to see the dogs win. It doesn't matter whether it's a maiden or a group race. It gives me a huge thrill to see one of my pups that I've bred and reared come out and break in myself, come out and win a race. And it doesn't matter what distance, what quality that is. A win is just great.
I love the competitive edge. Hey, Ange, good luck. Round 2 of the Australian Cup Carnival at the Meadows. It's going to be enormous. You've got 11 runners in on that program. Good luck with Mepunga Reward. And I guess congratulations, too, to get him to where he is now. We can't wait to see him finish off his career, go to stud and produce some little babies that are just as good as him. So all the best moving forward, and thanks for your time.
Thanks very much, James, and thanks for having me on.
What are you really gambling with? For free and confidential support, call 1800 858 858 or visit gamblinghelponline.org.au.